good old rivals go head-to-head in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur for the ASEAN Basketball League Season 2013 game between the Jobstreet.com Singapore Slingers and the home team, the Westports Malaysia Dragons. The Slingers arriving here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia yesterday afternoon and going shopping in Lot 10 and Bukit Bintang and enjoying all that Malaysian hospitality has to offer. But right now, we're at the MABA Stadium. We're the home of Malaysian basketball, home of the Westports Malaysia Dragons as they take on their causeway rivals, the Jobstreet.com Singapore Slingers, who defeated the Dragons by one close point at the start of the season. Hello basketball fans, you're with me, Ben Ibrahim, Andy Whitelaw and Lenora Lau, our courtside reporter on the ASEAN Basketball League Season 2013 game between the home team, the Westports Malaysia Dragons and the Jobstreet.com Singapore Slingers, live on Fox Sports. And Andy, we saw both teams lose to the San Miguel Beermen by identical margins of 11 points, and because it was down to very, very poor execution on shooting.
Yeah, both teams will be very disappointed with the way they shot on that day. The Dragons' shooting percentage from the field was only 36%, and they pride themselves on their hot shooting. But in that respect, you have to give credit to the Beermen. Some solid defense from them. They're one of the strongest sides in the league. I think we're going to see a very different game today. The Slingers will be hoping to play in the paint, and Singleton, the new boy, he can have a huge impact.
Well, I spoke to Donald Dooley, well, arguably the team captain, the unofficial team captain of the Slingers before the game, and he said, we don't know what we're doing wrong. In training, we're hitting shots, but when it comes to game time, we can't get out of it. We can't go past 50 or 60 points. Is it confidence or is it ability?
Well, you know, you have your off days and you have your hot days, and they'll be happy today to have Wong Wei Long in the side because he never plays away games. Of course, he's a student, but he's one of the best local players in the league, one of the few to average over 10 points a game, and he can shoot. So for the mentality of the team, it'll be a massive bonus not only to have the new boy Singleton, but to have Wei Long in the team because he can shoot from outside. Well, the Dragons, in my opinion, they need to bring that all-round game when they defeated the Chang Thailand Slammers on the 22nd of February. Because like I said, Andy, all-round game. We're not used to seeing an all-round Dragons team. Last season, we saw them do only one thing, which is offense. This season, they're going for that two-way game, defense and offense, transition, being quick from defense to offense and vice versa. Can they bring that today like they did against the Chang Thailand Slammers? Well, we know how good they can be in the transition. It's when they get into half court, they're a little easier to handle. But against the Chang Thailand Slammers, their rebounding was vastly improved, and it was also, they out-rebounded the Beermen, so they had a big impact. I mean, that Thailand game was massive. It was a massive game. Let's look at that Thailand game that happened on February the 22nd, 2013. Let's have a look. Well, Andy, in this game, the Dragons really stepped up, not just the imports, but the local players. Lo Shifai hitting it from downtown. Yeah, Lo Shifai had an impact. The local players really stepped up to the plate. I think the influence of Justin Melton and Samuel Monroe gave the team a lift. Now, there was deficiencies in certain areas, turnovers, sloppy play in possession, and we've spoken about rebounding. But with the influx of the new players, there's a different mentality about this Dragons team. We've seen Quet come in. He's done a good job, as well as Li Wei, you know. You need production from across the squad, and that's what they were getting. There was a real hype, a real buzz about the Dragons team when the Slammers came to town. And look at this, collective defending. It was great rejection, a change in attitude, Ben. Well, look at this guy. In terms of change of attitude, Justin Melton has changed the attitude of the team, because I asked him during the season, I asked him, are you a bit scared that you're pushing out team captain Guganeswar and Batu Malai out to the side? And he said, no, I'm not. I'm just going to share my experience, and together we can win more games, and together hopefully we can make the playoffs and win the ABL Championship Season 2013. Yeah, well, it's a team game, and that's a good attitude. That's what you want from your captain. You know, he wants what's best for the Dragons, and the performance of Melton has been sensational. He's a real triple threat team player. He can do everything. And if you look around the team, you know, it's improved the other players. And Tautua, who of course had that nightmare against Singapore, has really stepped up in recent games. Well, speaking of Tautua, I spoke to him before the game, just minutes before the game. I said, are you ready? He goes, yeah, I'm ready. I'm going to slam it and throw it down in their face because I've got a point to prove. I'm never, ever going to let that happen. And you should have seen it in his eyes, Andy. This guy was a warrior. Expect a big game from him. He is a warrior, Ben. He's all heart, that man. Expect
He loves the put-back slam.
Well, 82 points to 76, but the Indonesia Warriors had their 7-game winning streak broken on Friday night when they were defeated 57 points to 52 by the San Miguel Beerman beat the Indonesia Warriors. Let's go with Lynn to see what she has to say.
Thanks, guys. Now, the last time the Westports Malaysian Dragons versus the Jobstreet.com Singapore Slingers, they weren't exactly in rebounding paradise, but that was before Sammy Monroe and Justin Melton entered the team. So the two questions we have today: one, have other teams already figured out how to block Sammy from scoring? Because the last time at home, he scored 32 points, but with the Beerman, it was only 12 points. The other matter is, do the Dragons know how to handle the new man for the Singapore Slingers, Singleton? Those answers, we're going to find it out today. Stay with us. This is ABL 2013 season on Fox Sports.
Welcome back to Fox Sports coverage of the game between the Westports Malaysia Dragons and the Jobstreet.com Singapore Slingers. This is ASEAN Basketball League Season 2013 with me, Ben Ibrahim, Andy Whitelaw, and Lenora Lau, our courtside reporter. And Andy, my prediction is this game is going to go down to the wire. It's too close to call.
Yeah, it's so tough. You know, you're asking me off camera what I thought, but the starting fives intrigue me, given that Justin Melton is not starting. Is that a bit of mind games from Coach Ariel? Let them get set, let the Slingers set up against them with Vansin Ui playing point guard, or bringing in Melton after a few minutes to rattle them, you know, trying to get Patrick Kabahag scoring from outside early on, trying to get him in the zone. I'm intrigued.
Well, we're intrigued. Well, if you look at the Jobstreet.com Singapore Slingers, they're starting with Singleton and Jennings. Yes, Singleton there, he'll be playing at center, Jennings at forward, Volkov will be guard, and Donald Dooley. And very interesting to see Desmond O, known as D-Glove, will be coming in and starting for the Slingers, because this guy, he doesn't play much during the season. He's only averaged 5 points per game, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. His average field goal percentage is 26%, but he's a good lockdown perimeter defender. So I think that's what Coach Neil is after. Now we're just seconds from opening tip-off. Look at the two big men. Look at that guy Singleton. He's a massive unit. Opening tip-off. And it's Singapore ball. The visitors have possession, Andy.
Yes, they do. Matching up Vansin Ui. You'd think today, Ben, is going to be all about whether or not they can keep Singleton out of the paint. You heard Ariel Vengadia before the game stating, if we let this man in the paint, he will destroy us. Now, they've come up against the big man, Chris Charles, recently, and they dealt with him very, very well indeed. So I'm wondering, have they learned from that? Because not only have they got Singleton, but Jennings is the best rebounder in the league, 16 per game.
He's the best rebounder in the league, was the best rebounder in the NCAA. Once upon a time, 2 shots for a holding foul for the big man. And welcome to Malaysia. He does not hit his shot. He's more of a center. His impact is more in the paint, slam dunking and really blocking. So he does all the dirty work for the second. And he splits his baskets. And the Dragons now on attack through Gavin Edwards, trying to set up their offensive set. Bahag spins. Tatua for the 3. Oh, rims out. And Slingers have the ball on the fast break. Donald Dooley Can he set it up? No connection there. Singleton not afraid to take the big shots. Patrick Kabahang try to steady his skate. Bunsen Oi, more of a six-man. He's starting. Sammy Monroe just really working the perimeter. Monroe posting up on Volkov. Spins. That is a foul.
So what do you make of that inclusion in the starting five of Bunsen Oi? Vastly experienced player, played many years for the national team, but the form that Justin Melton's in, you expect him to start, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you'd expect him to start, but like Coach Ariel, I think he's playing mind games with Coach Neo because Coach Neo knows this team quite well. I mean, they're just neighbors. But that's good free throw by Sammy Monroe. They're very calm and composed under pressure. And he was disappointed with his game last week against the San Miguel Beermen. He only scored 12 points, so he'll want to make it up. And we have a Dragons lead, Andy. But Bunsen, Coach Ariel Vanguardia, very early in this game, playing mind games with Coach Neo from Singapore.
Yes, it's going to be such a tactical battle between these two. Oh, from outside, Dulé misses it. Now, Dulé could have an impact today, making those plays, trying to get the big man inside.
So, yeah, big man inside indeed, but that's a pushing foul there. Very interesting call. And it didn't look like it, but referee knows better, Andy. We say that a lot when we call games. And it's going to be an inbound pass by the Slingers. Dulé can really hit these ones. Volkov is open. Doesn't take the shot back to Dulé. No, he doesn't shoot. They're very hesitant to shoot, Andy.
Yeah, maybe it's to do with that lack of confidence you were speaking about earlier, Ben. I mean, in these opening segments, we talk about lack of confidence, but drains the three with aplomb. Very nice indeed from Volkov.
Easy layup, splits the defense there, Bunsen Oi, but just a bit soft in terms of the off roll from his fingers. Gotta make those situations count, Andy. But the Dragons will now have their turn for the inbound pass to set it up to try to score. Tautua, Butterfingers there. Now, as we saw there, Andy, very good defending by the Westports Malaysia Dragons. They were in legal guarding position. Stance, hands up. The referee could not blow their whistle. 3-man on Jones Jennings. Very smart defensive basketball by the Dragons.
Yeah, great stuff from the home team there. And what we're seeing on court today is Edwards being far more vocal than usual. And they're trying to put up screens here, which is nice to see. Edwards, 22 points against the Beermen. He really stepped up when Monroe wasn't firing. Edwards had the answers. And it's great to see because we've marked him out for several games now as a player who could have a great impact on this Dragons team if he just asserts himself that little bit more.
I like what I see in terms of moving the ball around the perimeter, Andy, but there's just no end product at the moment. But to the Dragons' credit, they're rebounding a lot better compared to previous games.
Again, the cooperation between Edwards and Monroe. Edwards trying to create the space for Monroe, but slightly tentative, as you say, Ben, in the opening stages. Both teams feeling each other out. It's interesting to see the matchups that we have on court today. Patrick with the fadeaway, no good.
No connection. Volkov. That's going to be a foul. That is a blocking foul, and that will be called on the Dragons. Chance to set it up again. Low scoring affair, Andy. Nothing too exciting at the moment. A lot of movement around the perimeter. A lot of movement or penetration in the paint, but no basket.
Well, it's interesting because the Dragons are one of the highest scoring teams in the league. Even when they lose, they get those high numbers, and the Slingers tend to have the lowest points scored against them. So that's why this one's so tough to call, Ben. And Singleton, what a wild card in the paint. I mean, The Dragons, by the looks of things, are having to focus and be so disciplined to make sure they don't give him the freedom, because he can really hurt them.
That was a call there by the referees. Dragons ball. They'll be happy with that call. John takes a three. Ball rims out. Edwards can't get the rebound. And here come the Slingers on the fast break. This is a good defensive strategy.
Easy two.
The little man gets in. That looked like a clean rejection to me, Andy, from this angle. Let's have a look. Ooh, that is 50-50 if you ask me. But the referees have the better side. And if that call went either way, I wouldn't complain. Yeah, because it was a tough call.
It was, but it was nice to see an aggressive play from Edwards there. And we now have Justin Melton on court, which will excite the fans. He can create, I'm willing to hazard a guess that the shooting percentages for both teams will be relatively low. That poor field goal percentage carrying over from previous games, Ben. In the opening stages, they haven't been sinking their shots.
Exactly, Andy. 36% was the average field goal percentage for the Dragons against the Beermen. 22% was for the JobStreet.com Singapore Slingers when they lost 66-55 in Singapore to the Beermen. So very low numbers there. But Gavin Edwards, he'll want to really push the Dragons in front. And they worked on free throws all night on Friday and Thursday night. So it looks like more practice needs to be done.
Dulé. They've lost it, but got it back again. Dulé drives in. Puts up an easy two, but misses it. It's turned over. Now the Dragons can break. They're so effective in transition.
Excellent basket by Sammy Monroe. Just goes for the layup. Drives to the basket. Nobody there to shut him down. 5 apiece. Now here come the Dragons. Another interesting call, Andy, for pushing. Pushing Justin Melton. Justin Melton is calling that it should be 2 shots. But I don't think that's the case. Referee got it right for the inbound pass for the Dragons. Very even here, Andy. Very, very even.
Yeah, we see the Slingers now have a couple of changes on court. They've got Wei Long, who can deliver from outside if they need him, but they've also got a little bit of size in Delvin Go, just matching up against John Ng. John Ng, nice and experienced from the Dragons. Neither of those players big scorers though. Very, very touchy in these opening stages.
A lot of fouls being given at the time. Coach Neo Beng saying of the JobStreet.com Singapore Slingers, not impressed in what he saw earlier. He was clapping the referees. He's got to be careful with that pun because he could get a technical, and we all know what that means. When it's a technical, it's over to the opposition. We're just going to take a very short commercial break. Don't go away. Welcome back to the MABA Stadium in Kuala Lumpur between the Dragons and the JobStreet.com Singapore Slingers. Justin Melton drives to the basket for the layup. 7-5 Dragons.
You just wonder if that's the lift they needed. Justin Melton can be so explosive, so consistent since his arrival in the team, and he looks like he's been playing for them for seasons, but Wei Long puts it up for the Slingers.
Excellent basket there by Jones Jennings. He just box outs really well and then grabs the rebound and puts it in. That's what they've got to be wary of. The Dragons, that is, Andy. Jones Jennings, their bigs are very, very big. And now Kabatu is in the starting five for the Singapore Slingers, and he can be, well, he can be trouble in the paint.
Trouble, yes. Yes, he can, and that's the thing. It's not just Jennings. They've got to worry about Singleton. They can't really afford to double up on one. It'll create space for the other. It's so fascinating how tactically the Dragons are approaching this defensively, because so much discipline is required, and it looks like Edwards will have a huge role to play today. At the moment, he's matched up against Singleton with Kabahug looking after him as well. The Dragons rebound through Monroe, breaking, finds the open Edwards, who manages to keep it in play, just about.
Signboards are falling down. Baseball passes are being thrown. Munro for the tray. Oh, so close.
Almost looked like it came in and popped out again.
That will be a foul on Jones Jennings. Be a double foul. Gugan Eswaran Batu Marlai, team captain of the Westports Malaysia Dragons, checks in. He'll probably add a little bit more penetration in the paint. As one coaching expert always said, it's all about penetration in the paint so you can get your points.
Kabatu open from outside. And that's an easier three, as you'll see.
That's a swish, mate. That's what they call it. Excellent by JJ Kabatu, son of PBA legend Sonny Kabatu in the Philippines. Basketball definitely is in his blood.
Correction on that. I think it's been given as a long two, Ben.
Okay, we stand corrected as commentators. Looked like a three from here, didn't it? And look how much, I mean, earlier when Volkov had the ball, look how much open space he had. The Dragons are giving the Slingers way too much space, and they can hit their shots. I know guys like Wong Wei Long, Donald Dulay, they're not the most consistent shooters, but sometimes they can hit those baskets.
Yes, they can, and this is why it's going to have to be such a disciplined, such a high-tempo performance from the Dragons, and the question is whether they can continue that consistently for the entire game. It's a big ask, but they have some offensive weapons of their own.
Well, speaking of offensive weapons, last week, what they did against the San Miguel Beermen, they were very courageous to take the 3 points, and we see that courage here today on their home court, but it is not translating to points. So in my opinion, I think they just need to do the simple things right. Get the penetration to the paint and get the deuces.
Samuel Monroe will go to the line. So reliable. Needs a big game here today, Sammy. Was quite kept quiet by the Beermen.
You got to say that defense, Andy, by the Beermen, that was solid. That's how you play defense. So take nothing away from the San Miguel Beermen. They were first-class defenders last week. And on Friday night when they defeated the Indonesia Warriors. But Indonesia Warriors, they showed they can defend too. Go for the shot. Basket. That's what I talked about, Andy. Getting in, penetration, get the deuce, simple basket. Do the simple things right, and the scoreboard will look after itself.
Yeah, Guga using his experience, leading by example there. Good technique on the two. Never letting the Slingers slip away, even in these early stages. They need to keep it nice and tight. Justin Melton. Always being followed. Edwards giving him the option, though. Drives in. Edwards on the rebound.
That would have been a great basket, wouldn't it? Excellent showmanship, dribbling between the legs as we go here. Yep, for the layup. Just needed a little bit more lift, and that would have been arguably the play of the day, even though it's the first quarter. That's why we like the ABL Season 2013. Great players, great plays, and it can only get better and better.
Got a limitless box of tricks, this boy Melton. Triple threat player, you know, he can pass the ball, he's got a range of passing, but when he drives in, wow, the individual skill, the technique, it's great to watch.
Well, that's why they call him Mighty Mouse. Size does not matter, it's all about quality. Gavin Edwards, and that's a quality layup. Not layup, sorry, check that. Free throw. Some of the players are injured, carrying an injury here at the moment. Andy, a lot of bumps and bruises here, but these two teams has had ideal time to rest.
Yeah, it's a big game to be up for, and any kind of injury to any of the big players could have a massive impact today. But that's a good pass, seeing Monroe open on the outside, but he's guarded by two. Finds Edwards. And they'll start again, running the shot clock. 6 seconds. Leeway.
It's getting physical here, Andy. People are bumping each other, players are bumping and pushing each other. A lot of fouls being called, and it's not even the first quarter over as yet.
Yeah, you're always going to expect a physical contest when it comes to Malaysia versus Singapore, aren't you? And this will be no different. It's so hard to predict how this will end. And at the moment, they're locked up at 11-all.
Wu Keng De, 20 years of age. He's only 6 foot, but he's a forward. He averages 2 points per game, 0 rebounds, 0 assists. His average field goal percentage is, well, about 40%. He's more of a 6th, 7th man, very young guy, and more of a development player for the Singapore Slingers. And he's showing a lot of nerves there. But he'll learn from that. Bounce pass. Melton orchestrating the strings for the fast break. Cougar for the three. Basket. Excellent fast break, excellent transition. And yes, unmarked, Gudas Malai, he hits it. That was pretty stuff, Andy.
That was vintage transition play from the Dragons, playing to their strength, and Guga with a point to prove. You know, you point out at the start of the game, he's a man who's lost his starting spot to Justin Melton, but he's been there, seen it, and done it, Guga, you know. He understands the game very well, and that translates to the other players. And at the moment, he's come up trumps at crucial moments in this opening quarter with that 2 earlier on, and a sensational 3 from the captain.
Well, captain working the corner, and again for the shot. Ball rims out. Players trying to box out, getting extremely physical there, Andy. Referee didn't call anything. Lets it play.
It looked fair enough to me, Ben. I think they've got to give as good as they get, the Dragons. The Slingers are a physical side, and the Dragons aren't the biggest, but they have to play to their strengths. I mean, we've spoken about what they might have to fear in the paint regarding the big men of the Slingers, but if they keep that transition fast and flowing, they keep Justin Melton flying, then they're going to get points. They fancy themselves in scoring. I mean, the Bierman game wasn't the best as far as they're concerned. 36% isn't their strongest field goal percentage, but they're back in front of their home fans. And how much would this W mean to the Malaysian crowd?
It would mean a big, big thing, because don't forget, we are at the halfway point of the season, and the big man, Singleton, who's got basketball in his blood. I just found out his birthday is on the 22nd of May, 1987, so he turns 26 this year. His father played for West Point, Donald Sr., and his mother, Shirley, played for West Florida in college basketball. So Shirley and Donald Sr., if you're watching this, your son, well, considering he just got off the plane at 1 o'clock on late Friday night, early Saturday morning, he's playing extremely well. He's a big unit, an excellent setup there. Way Long doesn't take the shot. Great movement, JJ. Look at this movement, Andy.
Yeah, it's good play, moving the ball well with Slingers.
That's a fair call. Foul on Justin Melton. He didn't mean it, but it was just a slip, and he collided with the player. That's just called bad luck, Andy.
Yeah, you got a bit of misfortune there, but some decent play from the Slingers. Didn't result in a score, but moving the ball around well, you know, not rushing it, reluctant to take the shot, but that could be down from a slight lack of confidence from shall we say, some rusty shooting of late.
That's well said, because the shooting today has been a bit rusty. The courage has been there. The movement of the offensive sets have been there. Like working the perimeter, excellent on the eye, but no end product.
So locked up at 14, and Wei Long will go to the line. I wonder how he's enjoying his first away day outing of the season.
Well, pretty good, Andy. He just hit that shot, so can't be too bad. Wong Wei Long, he's averaged 12 points per game, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Surprisingly, his average field goal percentage is only 29%, but he doesn't play in every game for Singapore because he is a student and he wants to finish his qualifications while having a sporting career. Melton, Cougar for the 3, and that is how you hit it from downtown. And the Westports Malaysia Dragons take the lead by 1 point, 17-16 over the Singapore Slingers. It's tight here, Andy. It's anybody's game, and the best part is it can only get better and better as we go along today.
Deep downtown in Kuala Lumpur, the captain, Guga, coming up with the goods. We'll be right back. Don't go away. We're off for a commercial break.
Welcome back to MABA Stadium, live on Fox Sports. The ABL Season 2013 game between the JobStreet.com Singapore Slingers and the home team, the Westports Malaysia Dragons, who are leading by 1 point, 17 points to 16. And right now we're about to, well, get the second quarter underway. And for the Slingers, we have Singleton, Jennings, Volkov, Desmond O, and number 11, Donald Dulé for the starting 5. And for the starting 5 for the Westports Malaysia Dragons, it's Gavin Edwards, Sammy Munro, Justin Melton, team captain Guga Deswaran Batu Malai. And yes, surprise, surprise, Coach Ariel Vanguardia is bringing on Kwan Yung Jing. Well, he wants to give his local players, he has always said this, he wants to give his local players more exposure so they can step up. Melton, ooh. Ball comes off the feet. I'm surprised the referee didn't call kickball there, but he let it play. Maybe justice done there because no basket for the Westports Malaysia Dragons. Slingers on the attack now. Singleton left open, Edwards trying to guard him, bounce pass, Jennings, turn, great basket by Jones Jennings. Leading rebounder in the NCAA in 2006-2007, leading rebounder in the ABL this season. Great spin move.
Yeah, great authority there from Jones Jennings. Monroe from outside. Jones Jennings in the other side of the court, showing what he does best. He's all over those rebounds. My ball.
Kwan Yung Jing, the learning curve he has to take there. He's got to box out a bit better. He's not as big. That's a bit of a mismatch against Jones Jennings. And if he knows if he's going to go for the rebound and box out hard. That's why Coach, I think, heard what I just said. And he brought on Muala Tautua, who's an excellent rebounder. His back is getting stronger. And he's a young man, only 23 years of age. So the best is still yet to come. For the
24 and still learning, but he can box out hard, harder than most in the Dragons team. He's got one heck of a leap on him. He can fly at both ends of the court. His rebounding has been much improved, and that will be of huge use to the Dragons today. They're hoping he's fully fit. Of course, had that back trouble, but he's really starting to get points on the board of late, and his defensive rebounds could be crucial today.
You notice something in the play of the Dragons, Andy, defense-wise. They're trying to push Slingers out of the paint. That's what you like to see. Aggressive rebounding, going for it, boxing out. It's my ball, nobody else's. That's what we like to see, Andy.
That's Jennings' attitude. Another defensive board from the main man when it comes to that section of the game. He's just so strong, so determined. It's as much psychological as it is physical because he's not the biggest. And for a man with his stats on those boards, it's impressive, Ben.
I totally agree with you. But so far, so good, Andy. Low-scoring game, but great to watch.
Yeah, it's engaging. Both teams haven't been the sharpest shooting. As far as the Dragons are concerned, Guga with 8 points, the captain, making a statement and just keeping his team in it, because Munro's been kept fairly quiet, which is a continuation. Maybe the Slingers watched that Beerman game and the job they did so well on them.
To stop the Westports Malaysia Dragons, just watch that Friday night game on Fox Sports.
4 seconds on the shot clock. No good from Volkov. Jennings getting caught up in the advertising boards there.
Well, aggressive. It's extremely aggressive at the moment by the Slingers. Well done to them. Guga. Smart basketball, a bit risky going to Gavin Edwards. Gavin Edwards could have been shut down there, but that trick worked for the Dragons, Andy. Gotta be very careful with that, even though there was a basket, but well done to the Dragons. They push out by 1 point. Out of bounds, Andy. That was another interesting call by the referees.
Yeah, the Dragons might have got out of trouble there. They had 2 men over on Jennings. Slingers created space, has a free man on the edge.
Lucky call by the Dragons, if you ask me, because from this angle it did not look like he was out of bounds. But the referees know better, Andy. Patrick Kabahag, he really needs a basket for confidence. Edwards for the 2.
So 8 points in the paint for the Slingers and 6 for the Dragons. That's no surprise that the Slingers leading with points in the paint. That's where their strength lies. It'll be interesting to see how that one develops and how quiet they can keep the big men, Jennings and Singleton, in the lane.
Well, it's all about controlling the bigs, isn't it? The bigs of the team. And this Singapore team, they've got a few big guys. Don't forget, we still haven't seen Delvin Goh. He's only 17, 6'7" and a power forward. Andy, is it just me or the referees are slightly indecisive on their calls?
Yeah, well, we've seen a lot of people go to the line already in this game. Some contentious ones, if you said, but 50-50 could have gone either way. Edwards with it. Edwards back to Melton. The skies on the pass to Patrick. And the Slingers are not happy.
That's a pushing foul. But Justin Melton will get things underway from the inbound pass. Patrick Kabahag back on the court. He had 0 points against the San Miguel Beerman, Andy. He was 0 of 3 from the three-point line. You've gotta watch the spacing of where Jones Jennings is in the paint for rebounds. Look at him, 3 men on 1, way long. Doesn't connect.
His positioning is just incredible, Ben. He always knows where to be. It's like a sixth sense. Salmi Monroe rebounding his own shot and laying in effectively. Now that's better from the Dragons. They've got to be more assertive in the lane, rebounding their own shots. Now Samuel Monroe leading by example there. The rest have to follow.
You know what it is, Andy? He heard you just now when you said he's been having an inconsistent game, especially last week. So he must have heard you. Every time you say something, these players sort of ignite. You can't script it with Andy Whitelaw right here at the MABA Stadium in Kuala Lumpur. Gavin Edwards to Monroe. Monroe just trying to push Flintoff, really hustling him. 7 shots on the shot clock. Turnover. Way long. Fast break. Tautua gets it back. Smart basketball by the Dragons.
Great energy from Tautua driving in with the pass. Edwards. Now that's fantastic transition once more from the Westports Malaysia Dragons, easing into a 3-point lead.
I thought he was going to go for the dunk.
Not this
Would have brought the
time.
house down.
Yeah, makes a statement.
Well, it's still early days yet. We're coming up to the halfway point, or almost the halfway point of the second quarter before we call it halftime. And I must say, Andy, I'm quite impressed with Jones Jennings from the Singapore Slingers. So far in the first quarter, 6 points. Excellent in rebounding, and that's why he's the best. We're very lucky to have him in our league, to be honest.
Yeah, the boy's been dynamite all over those defensive boards, and he just senses where to be. The Dragons need to step it up. They can't let him have those rebounds all day long in that fashion. But it's where he's dangerous on those offensive boards that they'll have to start to worry. Because Singleton as well, he can really, really hurt you. But in fairness to the Dragons, they've contained him fairly well thus far.
Fairly well. Yeah, I'll agree with that. But Coach Neo rotating a lot of his players, especially his guards and forwards. Wu King De, off and on. Desmond O, Wong Wei Long.
It's a high-intensity game. To keep up this tempo, he's going to need to use his bench effectively. The Dragons break with Melton. Melton back out to Edwards.
What a layup. That is excellent stuff. Entertaining. And it just goes, splits the D, drives to the basket. Impressive stuff. But Slingers need to get out of this sort of patch, this bad patch that they're turning the ball over a lot, Andy, and they've done this a lot this season. Open basket, throws it down.
You asked him that. He finally delivered on it. He's not a flashy player, he's efficient. He racks up those points quietly, but when the opportunity arises, he'll stuff it.
Well, I know you said a lot this season, Andy, about Edwards, how good he is, but let's just take a short commercial break. We'll be right back. You're back on Fox Sports, where the Malaysia Dragons lead the Singapore Slingers 27 points to 20. It was tight earlier, Andy Whitelaw, but now the Dragons have pushed out to a 7-point lead. Slingers are turning the ball over quite a fair bit over the last few minutes.
Yeah, it's been a bit sloppy from the Slingers, but some great passing, swinging it around the key there. Looking a lot sharper after the timeout.
And have they called another timeout? Well, that was very quick. Well, both teams just go to their coaches to discuss tactics and strategy once again. Very interesting tactic that one, Andy, because they just called timeout, but probably the Slingers did not quite execute their plan, well, offensive execution. So Coach Neo not happy with his troops at the moment. Very interesting call by the referee, but the infringement in the paint earlier, and it's going to be, when we come back from this timeout, it's going to be Malaysia Dragons ball. Where do you see this game going, Andy? I mean, to me, the Slingers have got to just protect the ball a lot better, keep it simple, and not turn it over.
We take a look at what happened here. Now the referee, it was looking good from the Slingers at this point. It comes in to Jennings, and I'm not sure what the infringement's given for.
It looked okay. Yeah, I agree with you. It looked okay. But they've got the hard job, Andy, and we're here in the commentary box. They have to call it as they see it.
Dragons starting to build up some momentum, opening up that 7-point lead. Monroe with it, spins. He'll have a shot from outside. Very nice two there from Monroe. Slowly starting to assert himself in the game. Dulé making it happen now with Jennings. And that's solid rebounding from Edwards. Edwards improving his all-round game every time I see him.
Jennings hasn't been so lucky with his spins at the moment. Monroe for the basket, just for the layup, and it bounces in, it goes. Now Andy, if you have a look at that again, uncontested by the Singapore Slingers. They're not using their bigs to their advantage.
Yeah, it's, we haven't seen the same efficiency on the rebounds as we had before. The Dragons have really stepped it up, but the all-round play of Edwards has been sensational. He's been putting up those screens to create space for Monroe, creating space for Melton. He's always in support. Look at him. His positioning has been really great today, and he could have a key feature in this game. I could see him getting the double-double.
That's a great rejection, by the way. Let's have a look here. Yep, that's a foul. That's connection there. That's a good call by the referees. But what can you do when a big monster like that is about to slam it down, Andy? Come on, what are you going to do? You're going to take a truck out? Push him over? Well,
take the Monroe route.
Singapore. Trying to find penetration. Jump! Throws it down by Singleton. The new man saying, I'm in your house.
Singleton loves this stuff. That's his game, inside the paint with authority. Samuel Monroe with the three. Delightfully done.
I must say, Andy, Sammy Monroe not quite looking himself today. When he first came to this league, not that long ago, when the Dragons defeated the Beermen, he had that more intense look, trying to prove a point that I'm a better player than Gabe Freeman. But today he's more relaxed, composed, and he's taking some time to get into the game. But today he's also facilitating a bit more today.
There he is from outside, off the rim. Now the Slingers can break. Dulé driving in, draws the foul.
And that foul on Ban Sin Oi for pushing. So it will be Slingers ball. And back comes in Woo Keng De, the forward at 6 foot.
Dulé creating a bit of space for Kubatu.
You see from that play there, Andy, the Dragons are really, really worried about the connection from the guards to Jones Jennings. So I think they're trying to cut off that supply.
Kabatu currently got Quack looking after him, and he's allowed him far too much space in the lane. You cannot allow Jennings that kind of room or he will punish you.
Let's go, Dragons, let's go!
Kabahag, a bit of a mismatch against JJ Kabatu.
Puts up the three, it's Patrick. Dule, nice pass to Kabatu. Kabatu back inside. Holding foul given by the referee.
There's a bit of argument here between Jones Jennings and Kabatu, the two more experienced players of the team, both the same age, at 28 years of age, having words with each other. Kabatu just talking to Michael Johnson, the general manager and assistant coach of the Singapore Slingers, just trying to calm everything down. But Jones Jennings can make this a single-digit lead if he connects the next basket.
Not the greatest free throw shooter in the world, 34% from the line this season.
Well, life is fair, isn't it, Andy? When you have an average of 16 rebounds per game, you can't have it both ways.
LeBron might beg to differ.
Well, they don't make him like LeBron these days, do they?
There is only one.
But we like our Singletons, Jennings, Gavin Edwards, Patrick Kabahag, Melton's, Loshi 5. That's why we love the ASEAN Basketball League Season 2013. Kabahag to Melton. They're trying to set something up. Van Kabahag, can he make the shot? No. He goes for the leading jumper. This man cannot buy a basket, Andy.
Yet another defensive board from Jennings, but a loose pass, just trying to be overly flamboyant with the Hollywood ball. Right idea, but Kabatu says thank you for the pass, but a bit exuberant, a bit too much on it. It's a strong dude.
Very strong dude. And an angry dude too, when you saw him back chatting to Jennings. But angry dude or calm dude, the Dragons have the ball, they're moving it around quite nicely. Bunts in, Oi! He makes it. Nice healthy lead for the Dragons here, Andy, before halftime. If they can keep the Slingers here a bit scoreless. Hands off to Kabatu. Kabahag. Oh, great shot by Kabatu. The fadeaway shot. Patrick Kabahag just stuck his hand in it, but there's the mismatch, Andy. Size. Munro. Can they narrow it down to 8 points? Yes, they can.
Jennings with the stuff. That was great ball movement from the Slingers. A really positive break from the visiting team. Out to Samuel Monroe with the three. Clean and easy for Sammy Monroe. 39-29 at the half.
Well, the Slingers, they'll be happy with their momentum and energy in the last couple of minutes before halftime, but they'll be disappointed with the way they're defending. They've just got to stick it, their hand in the faces of the Dragons, even if it is a mismatch. But on that note, we're going to dissect the game more when we come back. Let's just go for a short commercial break. Welcome back to Fox Sports, the game at the MABA Stadium, live between the Westports Malaysia Dragons and the JobStreet.com Singapore Slingers. And with me, Ben Ibrahim, Andy Whitelaw, as well as our courtside reporter, Lenora Lau. And Andy, not the most offensive, high-octane game that we expected, more of a defensive game.
Well, both teams have had to be very disciplined indeed. I mean, the new man, Singleton, we know how dangerous he can be in the paint. The Dragons have done a good job on him, but Jennings has been hugely impressive. His defensive boards, he's got 13 points for himself in the offensive end, while points from turnovers, 15 points for the Dragons, only 2 for the Slingers, and that, at the moment, could be where the game is won and lost.
Well, let's dissect that even more. Let's go to the first half highlights of the Westports Malaysia Dragons and the JobStreet.com Singapore Slingers. Both teams really started pretty slow, not that keen to really, you know, score the points very early. They're just keen to work the perimeter and really like just grudge it out, grind it out, Andy. So let's have a look at the highlights right now of the first half. Not the most entertaining first half, but it was points and defense at its best.
Well, it wasn't the highest scoring, but it was engaging. The tactics employed by both coaches were very interesting. We've talked about the points in the paint, but the transition play of the Dragons can be so effective. Now, the Singapore Slingers, while they have had some good ball movement around the key, they've been sloppy in possession at times, and the Dragons have punished them. But that man, Jennings, so far has been a real key player for the visiting team.
Well, look at this, Warren Batumala, team captain, just hit the 3 there. And look at that, Andy. Like, when Jones Jennings gets in the paint, the Dragons really need to close him down a lot better, yeah?
Yes, they do. Edwards, though, has had a big impact for the Dragons. It's been a good all-round performance from him. He's got 10 points to his name, while Samuel Monroe had a quiet start to the game. Maybe that's why it wasn't so interesting, as you're saying. But as he gets more and more into the game, he can have a big influence. Similarly with Justin Melton.
Well, and their bounce pass to Gavin Edwards brings the house down with that dunk. The crowd absolutely loved it. And that's what you call throwing it down. And Sammy Munro, later in the second quarter, he found his shooting range. Really was not afraid to take 3-point shots. And there's another dunk there by the new boy Singleton, showing that he's not jet lagged. But Munro says, okay, you can dunk, but I can shoot.
Yeah, Monroe starting to find his stride as we got towards the end of the half there. But Jennings is the danger man. If Singleton can help him out on those offensive boards, the Dragons could still be in trouble. But I think Coach Vanguardia will be very happy man indeed with how they've dealt with Singleton.
Well, that is the end of the first half, where the Dragons, Malaysia Dragons, lead by 10 points, 39 points to 29. Sammy Munro having 16 points in that first half, and a great game by Jones Jennings, the leading rebounder in the ABL. But Andy, in my personal opinion, in the second half, it's not all over yet, because the Dragons, history has taught us, the Dragons can get very complacent in the third quarter and lose the lead.
Yeah, that was a feature of that 4-game losing streak. It just wouldn't happen for them. They worked hard, they hit the training court, and they hit those defensive boards, those turnovers, and they worked on them. We saw that improvement against the Beermen. Out-rebounding the Beermen is quite a feat. So you've got to say, the manner in which they've looked after Singleton, a big 7-footer with a big reputation, has been pleasing, but they have to watch out for Jennings. Monroe, 16 points in the opening half. They'll be happy with that. They've got to bring Justin into the game. He can score, and just not get too complacent, because it's going to be high intensity and high discipline in terms of defense.
Well said, because that's what they need to do. But also, in my personal opinion, the Slingers need to work their bigs a lot better. They've got some great big guys here. They've got Delvin Goh. He's only 17 years of age, number 23. He's only probably played about 30 seconds. JJ Kabatu, the communication between him and Jones Jennings, a little bit contentious. Singleton replacing the very efficient Carl Jeffers. Don't forget, Carl Jeffers this season so far has only, well, not only, he scored average 18 points per game, 12 rebounds and 3 assists, average field goal percentage 40%. And I hate to tell this to you, basketball fans, Carl Jeffers is out for the rest of the season. So it looks like Singleton will be here not as a temporary replacement, but for a replacement for a while yet.
Really devastating news to lose Carl Jeffers. He's a real Slingers hero. He is the heart and soul of this team. It was never going to be easy to replace him. I mean, Singleton, as he said, just stepped off the plane. Huge expectations, and maybe unfairly so, on the big man.
Yeah.
I mean, Carl Jeffers, what a great all-round player. I mean, they relied on him so heavily throughout the season, and you've got to respect Jennings for stepping up to the plate when it matters, because those two in tandem, when they were firing, they could beat anybody, and I think up to now, the Slingers have surprised a few basketball fans.
Well, one guy who the Slingers will expect a lot more from this season is Donald Dulay, number 11, and he's had 0 points. I remember speaking to him before the game. He just told me, Ben, I don't know what's going on. Last season, I was shooting in, well, average field goal percentage in the high 30s to, well, early 40s. This season, his average field goal percentage is 23%. His average three-point percentage is 13%. Because last season, when the Slingers came to MABA and defeated the Dragons, Donald Dulay absolutely killed the Dragons with his three-point shooting. But we're not seeing that today.
We've seen something similar with Patrick Kabahag of the Dragons, but if we look at the stats here today, free throws looking good for the Dragons, rebounding from the Slingers as you'd expect. 25 to 18, Jennings must have played a massive part in that, but field goal percentages, Slingers better than the Dragons, 40% from the field, which I find quite surprising. It must have been down to that early misfiring from both teams, particularly the Dragons. The opening quarter, neither of them could hit it.
Well, look at the turnovers, Andy. 16 turnovers, like you were saying earlier, to the Dragons 7, and they scored. The Dragons scored a lot of points of those turnovers. So, like I said earlier, got to work the bigs in the second half, and they've got to protect the ball a bit better. Just got to receive it. So, yeah. So, let's go for a very, very short commercial break. We could talk about this game until the cows come home, but we'll go for that break. And when we come back, more here on ABL Season 2013. Welcome back to Fox Sports, the game between the JobStreet.com Singapore Slingers and the Westports Malaysia Dragons with Andy Whitelaw and myself, Ben Ibrahim. And at the moment, Lenora Lau, our courtside reporter, well, she's going to talk to one of the coaches to see what's going on in terms of the tactics for the second half. Over to you, Lynn.
Still 2 minutes, still 2 minutes.
Thank you, guys. Coach Ara, thanks so much for being with me. Now, okay, Sammy Monroe has already got 16 points down. Obviously, you have tackled the problem of the triple and double defense. So what did you guys do during the week?
Well, I think the ball movement was better in the first half, and we hope to continue it because we know I have lots of respect for Singapore, and they won't give up, and we have to play the way we played in the first half.
I heard the coaches were screaming inside. That means for Singleton, they're going to be looking at inside the paint for him to score. How are you going to conquer that?
Yes, he's a hard cover for us. He's so big, so huge. That's why we really have to play team defense on him, and hopefully in the second half we'll be able to push him out of the paint.
Mo also has 3 fouls so far. Are you going to tell him to lay low a little bit?
Well, Mo's our energy guy. You know, sometimes he gets into those foul trouble. I hope he stays away from it, but I think the locals are ready to step up.
Thank you very much. Back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Lynn. And oh gosh, that's a very surprise that Lynn pointed out. Mo Tautua on 3 fouls, Andy. He's got to be careful. It's very, very early days yet. He's having a great game.
That's just part of his game. That's what you're going to get. And that's almost what you expect from Moala Tautua. Sometimes you need a player who's going to be the heart and soul, who's really going to drive and, you know, get the team going in that respect. And as long as he's a little bit careful, you know, he's 24 years old, he's still learning how to control his temperament and how to show his experience on the court. But that translates to other players when they need a lift. Sometimes that's important.
Well, Andy, even though the Slingers are only down by 10 points, it's a double-digit, well, deficit that they have to make up. This game is still very much winnable for them.
Oh, massively, Ben. This is... they're not out of the woods yet, the Dragons. They're so keen to avenge that 1-point defeat in Singapore.
Lest we forget.
Yeah, and you know, that man who will be fired up, Moala Tautua, of course, with that final minute dunk. He had a chance to take the game to overtime. Obviously overcooked it, we'll remember well. But maybe that's why he's just that little bit extra fired up today.
Well, Coach Ariel Rangwadia has to be a little careful with his foul trouble, but he does have good backup. He's got Chi Li Wei, number 37, the part-time player for this team. The Dragons are smiling at the moment. They bring onto the floor Gavin Edwards, Guganis Wadambatu Malai, Mo Tautua, Sammy Monroe, and Justin Milton Mighty Mouse. For the Singapore Slingers, it's Mitch Volkov, Singleton, Jones Jennings, JJ Kabatu, and the ever-reliable leader, Donald Dulé. So Dulé has the ball, tries to swing it in. Kabatu works the perimeter again. Very much we see this a lot from Slingers. Kicks out.
Well, they don't score. It ends up with a score after the rebound, but that was excellent play from the Slingers. You saw 3 men on Singleton. It just opened up the space for Dulé on the opposite side. They rebounded well. The Dragons were too concerned with what Singleton was doing, didn't get the board, and in the end, the Slingers get the 2 points. But wow, Gavin Edwards, he has stepped his game up today, Ben, with another slam.
Well, arguably the best player of today, but it's early days yet. Andy Jones Jennings, oh, almost got it. Good rebounding by the Dragons. Here they come. Oh, great turn by Milton, all the way to the basket. Mo out to Edwards for the jumper. Oh, there's bodies flying everywhere, Andy.
Yeah, it's like a bowling alley, Ben. They're all over the place.
And no strike.
No strike for Mo. He's unhappy. Remember, he's on those 3 fouls. He's got to be told to calm down a little bit right now.
Just guys trying to box out Andy. And he's saying to his coach, what did I do wrong? And he's being benched.
I think he might have been given his 4th personal foul there. And he's having a word with him at the moment.
didn't look like much of a foul, more of a 60-40. Could have gone either way, but yeah, interesting there. But Coach Ariel Banguardia has brought on Chi Li Wei. So Chi Li Wei is not that game fit, but he needs to do very, very simple things right. Averages 1 point per game, 3 rebounds, 0 assists. Average field goal percentage is 22%. Not bad for a guy that probably plays half the season with the Westports Malaysia Dragons in the ASEAN Basketball League. He's got plenty of experience with him, especially with the national Malaysian team.
It's a major blow, losing Moala Tautua. They will hope that Li Wei can step up, but his hands were all over Jennings there. That was an obvious foul.
Good call by the referees. But it's not 2 shots, so inbound pass by JJ Kabatu to the big fella, Singleton, and they'll work the they'll want to work the perimeter again here, Andy.
Volkov drives in. Inside to Jennings. Jennings surrounded by dragons like a Harry Potter movie.
That wasn't in the magic trick book. But entertaining. Let's give these two teams credit for giving us an entertaining product of basketball. I must say that.
It's never going to be dull, Malaysia versus Singapore. There's going to be some fireworks. Li Wei has to be smart in this game. He's coming into a high-tempo game. He's being asked to look after some giants. And he's got to keep his hands to himself in the key. Here he is, Li Wei. Ooh, that was wayward.
That was a ball. But didn't expect much from the big guy, to be very honest. He hardly has game time, and he's very hesitant to shoot. When he came on in the San Miguel game, he had a chance to hit a jumper, open jumper, but he was scared. No confidence, Andy, and that's because lack of practice.
It's not ideal stepping into the big game. Singleton trying to spin Edwards. Manages to get the pass off to Kabatu, but Kabatu is crowded out by Edwards, who's stamping his authority down on this game. More and more looking like a leader, Ben.
Absolutely agree with you there, big fella. Munro spins, ball rims out, and it's back to Singapore.
You notice the difference when Jennings rebounds there. The Slingers look to collect, regroup, whereas the Dragons, when they receive the turnover, they look to break as fast as possible and really hit the Slingers hard.
Got to be careful with receiving the ball there, Andy, for the Dragons.
Completely unopposed, Dulé with the 2.
You must have heard what we said about him at halftime. He's coming alive a bit, now with 6 points.
Good interplay between Edwards and Guga. Guga off the rim. Now the Slingers can break. Now that's incredible D from Samuel Monroe. Michael Volkov was going for the lay-in, but Monroe said no chance.
Well, he read that really, really well. Let's have a look at it here. Eye contact to eye contact. Rejection. Excellent read by Sammy Monroe, the man who used to play basketball in Mexico, as some Americans say, Mexico. So they've got the ball back, but they're not out of the woods. They need to get that lead, that double-digit lead, and they just got to protect the ball. They're losing the ball quite a bit.
Anyway, bit of space in the key. He's got it back with a bit of fortune. Guga trying to spin, drives in. Oh, massive denial from Singleton. Dulé with the lay-in.
Donald Dulé really coming alive in the second half. He's now got 8 points. His confidence has been extremely low this season, with an average field goal percentage of 23%. But today's numbers, even though it's just single digits at the moment, it will restore some confidence going forward. And they've trimmed the lead down to 6 points. They're only down by 6 points. We're just going to take a very short commercial break. More when we come back. Welcome back to Fox Sports. It's the Westports Malaysia Dragons up 41 points to 35 against their Causeway rivals, the JobStreet.com Singapore Slingers. And the Dragons have just had a 10-point lead wiped down to now 6 points. Andy Whitelaw, and we spoke many times, not just today, but over the season. Well, the third quarter is always known for the Dragons as the complacency quarter.
Well, we don't want to see any of that here today as Samuel Monroe adds to his tally. 18 points for the big man. He's really stepped it up and grown into the game with a bit of a quiet first quarter.
Don't forget, the Dragons playing without Wala Tautua, their big forward. He's in foul trouble. He's on 4 fouls, and that's why we see Chi Li Wei on the floor playing in the forward position. Not much game time for this big man, but he's got the experience. He's 29 years of age, and he can play in center and in forward, so very adaptable. Very much good options for Coach Ariel Van Guardia. Don't forget, if you look at both teams, benches and the starting 5, Coach Ariel can use 11 players versus the Slingers only 8 players. So on mathematics, they've got the better depth. But can they win this game? Doesn't necessarily mean that, does it, Andy?
Yeah, well, it's important to have a strong starting 5, as we know. But it's a shame for Coach to lose Tautua because he is the heart and soul, the engine room of this team. Li Wei, a much quieter player, but you have a feeling Coach saw this on the cards, speaking about his trust in his local players, so he knows he can call upon them when needed. Oh, good idea from Samuel Monroe there. Didn't quite execute it in the end. Li Wei was closest to it.
Now is not the time to get too experimental, Andy, if you ask me. Now is the time just to do the simple, basic things right. And make shots and block shots. Double teaming Jones Jennings. They poke off. Struggling there and turnover. Oh, trying to go for the alley-oop, but it didn't quite work. And they're calling for the foul. And Edwards pulling Monroe over, saying, don't say anything. You don't want to get a technical foul. Let's look at that. Not quite. And Mr. Monroe, Sammy Monroe II, will go to the line. And JJ Kabatu now checks in again for the Singapore Slingers.
Before that play, we saw the Dragons double up on Jennings. Jennings already on the double-double. He likes to take his time. He's so confident in the paint, but earlier we weren't quite sure what the referee had given, but it must have been a 3-second violation because Jennings, so confident in the paint, sometimes takes a little too long, but he's been crucial for the Slingers. And if they're going to get back into this game, all eyes are on him. Singleton hasn't been quite as explosive as we thought.
No, he hasn't, and the big man, well, he just got off the plane, you know, off one plane, probably had about 4 hours sleep, and then he had to go in another plane, train at MABA Stadium at about 6 o'clock last night, and then, yeah, and then he's got to play again here. Yes, he did. Don't forget, he's coming from Bahrain, and I asked him before the game and said, what's the difference between Bahrain and ABL? He said, not much. Well, ABL's better, he said. So let's have a listen to what the coaches are trying to say. Coach Ariel, what he's trying to say to his players. Patrick Kabahag, as we see on our screen, he has not scored anything today. Didn't score anything against the Beermen. He's averaged 5 points, Andy, in his last 3 games. And don't forget, last season he was much better. Probably a contender for 6th Man of the Year in season 2012, if there was such an award. But, you know, great 6th man, not having the greatest confidence. So he'll want to get at least a couple of points today so he can go home and lift his confidence, because not playing very well at the moment, but Coach Ariel trusting him to be on the starting 5 right now.
Yeah, he's a player who fluctuates, but he's a player when he starts firing, the crowd really love him. They get behind him. He's such a hot shooter. He goes in streaks. We remember in Bangkok against the Slammers earlier in the season, I think he hit 4 threes in a row. Such a crucial time in the game, and everyone was singing his name. So he has his moments. When he's hot, but when he's cold. And unfortunately, winter is coming as far as Kabahag is concerned at the moment. But, you know, spring could be around the corner, Ben.
God, aren't you the weatherman today? And Guga and Liwei get things underway. The ball coming off the Slingers. Guga, second best three-point shooter in the league. Average three-point percentage is 53%. Second behind David Palmer of the Saigon Heat. Munro, also a man who can shoot.
Running the shot clock, 4 seconds left. Puts it up and it's rebounded. It comes back out to Dulé.
So that's an interesting call, Andy. Holding foul. And that will be Singapore Slingers. Justin Melton checks in for the Dragons.
No complaints on the holding foul from the Dragons. Will be an inbound pass to the Slingers. Now Dulé has started to assert himself.
Well, no point arguing, really. Just get on with it. Open for the big man. He connects. Well done. Mr. Donald Rashad Singleton all the way from Bahrain. And Guga, can he hit back? Oh, ball rims out. Edwards for the rebound. Tries to go for the bank shot. But to no avail.
Defense! Defense!
Jennings so aggressive.
Defense!
Doubled up at the moment, but creates the space for Dulé, who drives in. And that's a nice three-pointer from Kwonde Wu. The youngster doesn't get too many points on the board.
No, he doesn't. And look at the scoreboard, Andy. 4 points. It's anybody's game now. Kabahag. And he connects! Patrick Kabahag has broken his jinx streak. And he's got points on the board. I know I'm celebrating like, wow, he just won the lottery, but that man has struggled for points lately.
That's a beautiful fadeaway from Patrick. Textbook technique from the Filipinos. Justin Melton drives in, gets the foul. Looks like Desmond O and Wei Long will come onto the court for the Slingers.
Okay, Coach Neo bringing on Desmond O and Wong Wei Long. I think if I'm a psychic, he'll want to shoot more with the ball because Wei Long and O are pretty decent shooters. Especially Wei Long. Bahag, can he get another one? Nope. More energy that Wei Long and O gives to the team. Just moving around the perimeter. Good movement. John Ung on the starting five for the Dragons, Andy. We haven't seen much of him in this game.
No, we haven't seen a lot of John, but he looked for the fast break. It wasn't on, so he held on, passed it out to Monroe. So they can be patient, the Dragons, but they're happiest when they're flying.
Well, they're not high flying at the moment. They're just everywhere from the transitions from offense to defense. Oh, so close. But excellent hustle by Justin Melton there.
Yeah, good D from Melton, but we've seen a slight adjustment. Singleton taking up that position at the top of the key more often now. Jennings just having a few words with Desmond O there.
He's looking frustrated, isn't he?
Yeah, not happy because he's having a great game individually, but his teammates aren't stepping up for him right now.
Shot clock violation, and that will be the Dragons' ball. About 1 minute and 35 seconds to go before the end of the third quarter, Andy. How quickly time flies when you're having fun and calling a great basketball game. Not an intense basketball game like we saw when the Beermen took on the Dragons at MABA Stadium not too long ago. That was a high intense game. Had everything that you wanted. Pleasure to call that. Edwards! Ooh, blocked by Jones Jennings. And the Dragons saying that was a foul. But good call by the referee. That was a good call, I must say.
Defense! 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 Defense!
Excellent box out by Gavin Edwards. John Ung now, Melton. Patrick for the three. Drains it. Patrick Kabahag, where have you been?
The sun is starting to shine on Patrick and his three-point shooting.
Aren't we corny poets?
Defense! Defense!
Look at Patrick Kabahag, and he's got a bit of a semi-smile on his face. So, all things not doom and gloom in Patrick Town.
Well, you can sense it. You know, when he gets in those zones, he gets in those zones. And often it's the beginning of a good thing as far as he's concerned. Once he hits one, several tend to follow. And that can only be a good thing for the Dragons.
Wu Kung De,
Defense!
one way long.
Defense!
Melton and Wei Long, that's a great contest. Two quick players, Wei Long, great vision to see O. Can O do something with it? Pump fakes, or fakes, shot clock violation. That's the second time that's happened this quarter, Andy. Taking too much time on the shot clock, working too much perimeter time, and they fall short.
Yeah, it's a contrast of styles. We saw Jennings with that 3-second violation earlier, 2 shot clock violations in this quarter alone. They just need some more urgency, more intensity. But now Monroe can run down the clock. But that is the time you want to run down the clock, and that's the way you want to do it.
Reverse layup by John Ung. Great movement, great vision, great offensive set by the Dragons. Can the Slingers hit back? No basket. A decent quarter by the Dragons, but Singapore was showing signs of coming back when Donald Dulé was hitting all those points, and they were going on a bit of a run, but it wasn't to be. But early days yet. Let's just go for a short commercial break. We'll be back here on ABL Season 2013. Welcome back to Fox Sports, the live coverage of the ABL Season 2013 game between the JobStreet.com Singapore Slingers and the Westports Malaysia Dragons, who lead 50 points to 39. You're still with me, Ben Ibrahim, Andy Whitelaw, and our courtside reporter, Lenora Lau. And Andy, earlier in the third quarter, the Slingers were making a bit of a comeback. They were only down by 6 points, but because they took too much time with their shot clock, look at the lead. They're now down to 11 points. I mean, they could have been very much closer to the Dragons.
Yeah, too much indecision from the Slingers, Ben, and they'll be disappointed with that. They would have had a little word about that on the bench. They've got to be more decisive in the key areas, because if they're not confident enough to take their shots, they're not going to win this basketball game. They know how good Jennings can be, and he's shown that today. He's shown that he is a monster on the offensive boards and the defensive rebounds, but they've got to help him out a little bit more.
Sammy Munro trying to go for the fake, and he draws the foul from the Singapore Slingers. So he will go to the line for 2 shots for a foul. And that was a fair call again. You know, earlier at the start of the game we said, well, some of the referees' calls were a bit funny. And Singapore are in a little bit of foul trouble at the moment, Andy. So they too have to be careful, because Moala Tautua for the Dragons, well, he's on the bench because he's sitting on 4 fouls at the moment. Sammy Munro taking his time.
50% from the line. Samuel Monroe, he always looks very relaxed on his free throws. He's a confident player, as he should be. 18 points already today.
19 with that one.
And he'll fancy a few more.
Just a few more. 2 for 2. So Dule, can he be the orchestra or the orchestrator of the comeback for the Slingers? Turnover, Munro jams it, throws it down and brings the house down. That's what you like to see, Andy. Some dunks.
A cheeky flex of the muscles to the crowd to follow it.
Well, he loves it. He loves the crowd. He loves playing great ball. Kabatu. Singleton tries to spin. He's in a bit of trouble.
Too late to Kubatu. Kubatu spins. It's rebounded, but the Dragons come out with it. It's Monroe now. That was the story of the game right there. Before Monroe's slam, 15 points off turnovers for the Dragons, just 4 for the Slingers, and that is just not good enough.
Look at that play, Andy. I'd love to see that again. Munro just drives to the basket and gets it. Just splits the defense. And this man is on fire. Let's look at that. Yep, they try to get him, but he just splits it. 2 men look at him, and he just drags down and says, yeah, I got it.
Little cheeky finger roll, and then he's on the way down. Very, very confident player. Such an impact he's having today. He was kept slightly quiet by the Beerman, but it's a different story today, and it's looking healthy for the home team.
Well, at the moment, it's getting out to a bit of it's a very, very healthy lead for the Dragons. 17 points, but don't forget, I still, Andy, I must confess, on live television on Fox Sports, I must confess that even though the scoreboard says 56 to 39, I never say it's done and dusted for the Dragons, because these guys, as long as I've been a commentator in this league the last 2 seasons, they somehow just managed to relax and just let the other team into it. It's kind of annoying to watch at times, I'll be honest.
Well, complacency is endemic. You cannot let it get the best of you.
Okay, let's just go over to Lynn. She's got a bit of news to tell us. Over to you, Lynn.
A little bit of gossip for you guys. Okay, early on in the game, Singapore Slingers coach New was saying stick together. Hey, I don't know, it's possible there could be something going on internally that's affecting the game for the Singapore boys. Now on to the foul report. Pretty much nearly everybody has fouled at least once for the Westports Malaysian Dragons. Tatua has the most with 4, Lee Wei with 3, and as for the Singapore Slingers, they need to watch out for Wei Long, who's got 4, and also Fokaf, who's got 3. Back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Lynn. Excellent stats report by Lenora Lau, our courtside reporter, going through the foul trouble. And those stats are very, very telling, Andy, because it will affect the tactics of both coaches.
Yeah, they've got to watch out for Lee Wei, because he's at the moment essentially covering for Tautua, but it's a tough position to be in if you're looking after the likes of Jennings and Singleton. You know, they're going to draw fouls from you, and you have to be aggressive if you're going to instigate turnovers like this one. Justin Melton with the jam.
Did you see that? Did you see that?
Jam from Justin Melton, under 6 foot. He can spring.
You know what? Our producers always tell me to say, never say, oh my God, but I'm going to say it. Oh my God, that was a great play. Reverse jam by Justin Melton, and the Singapore Slingers are looking in disarray at the moment. What hit us? What exactly just hit us? It came from a turnover, Andy.
Yeah, sensational stuff from Justin Melton. He has got all the tricks, and he can deliver. When you give him that kind of space, that will get the crowd on their feet, and they are in dreamland as the Dragons take command of this game. Another break from the Dragons. Munro cuts inside with the slam, and now he's had a Tautua moment. Too much on it.
Slam funk, as we like to call it. Okay, get back to basics. There's another no turnover. And that's a foul.
Okay, that's a foul, but that was just incredible D from the Dragons, looking after the 7-footer Singleton, double teaming him with nowhere to go. They've conceded the foul, but this is some amazing hustle from the home team.
Andy, one thing that is an area of concern for the Slingers, I hate to say this, their turnovers, their stats are getting higher and higher. All those points that Melton dunked, Sammy Munro missed dunk, all from turnovers. What's going on? I mean, they're losing it. And Lenora was saying earlier, yeah, there's something going on in the Slingers camp. There's a bit of argy-bargy going on.
Well, that's what interested me the most about what Lenora was saying, because we saw earlier Jennings having a word, I think it was with Dulé. He was so frustrated because he's individually has been very impressive indeed. His numbers have been great. His rebounding, as per usual, has been fantastic, but the other players don't seem on the same page.
Yep, well, they've got to get united right now. Walla Tautua comes on for Gavin Edwards, who's had an ecstatic game. So Dragons just trying to slow it down there.
Monroe from outside, 3 points. 20-point lead for the Dragons.
He just lifts his hand up in the air and said, yeah, I got it. I've got the stuff. I've got the moves like Jagger, and I'm going to hit it downtown. 20-point lead to the Dragons, Andy. Can the Slingers mount some form of a comeback? It's a foul. 2 shots to the line. Considered a double foul, but it will go to Singleton. Not a bad game he's had today, Andy, I must say, for the expectations that was put on his shoulder. Coach Ariel said on Friday night to me in training that he said, look, I'm afraid this guy is a hybrid of Justin Howard and Chris Charles. He's a monster. And he was afraid that the Slingers would play a very similar tactic game to the Chang Thailand Slammers and play that pick and roll with Florent Bagyon, Chris Charles approach type.
Yeah, well, you know, Coach Ariel was saying he's like Chris Charles but stronger, but I've got to disagree with you. I know he's just gotten off the plane, but I expected more today. This, for me, looked like a very, very tricky fixture for the Westports Malaysia Dragons. The difficulty with dealing with Jennings and Singleton looked like it could be a deadly combination.
So, 2 shots coming up for the Slingers. And they'll just need to... There's still time, Andy. There's still time to whittle this lead down. Just got to do the basic right. Make your shots from the free throw line and just protect the ball. If they can just focus on protecting the ball and not turning it over and not taking too much time on the shot clock, I think they'll be okay. I'm quite an optimist for the Singapore Slingers.
Well, with a day like Jennings is having, he seems to want to carry this team, and he's so effective in the paint. If Singleton can draw men away from Jennings, then Jennings could be the man to claw them back in here.
Well, just after 3 quarters, Jones Jennings has scored 16 points, and he's added more in this quarter. So, definitely the Slingers' best player, but he's trying to do too much. Look at the Dragons at the moment, they're really distributing the ball around, not afraid to play that ball movement basketball. Melton for the 3. Ball rims out. And here come the Slingers, Kabatu. Dragons, got to protect the ball. Monroe for the tray. Oh, everybody's just trying to be very ambitious with the shooting. What? Slowing it down. Good move by Sammy Monroe.
Justin Melton working the clock. Moala Tautua. Outrick to Patrick Kabaha with the 3. He's having one of those days.
Patrick is in dreamland now. He would admit it because he's a quiet fella, an absolutely nice guy who just loves playing basketball. Back out to a 20-point lead. That's a foul. If you Look at Jones Jennings here on the screen, Andy. He looks absolutely fatigued, like he's just run a marathon. Like you said many times during this quarter, probably trying to do a bit too much.
Well, it's not what you want to see. You don't want to see one of the imports really stepping their game up, having a huge performance, and not being helped out by their teammates. The best teams, the teams that thrive in this league, seem to be the ones with great imports, yes, but ones where the local players contribute. And today, the Dragons across the board have been quite impressive. They've played as a team, and their imports, the likes of Munro and Edwards, have been sensational, whereas contrastingly, look at the Slingers. Jennings has been at the races. Singleton has just got off a plane. It's not ideal. They miss Kyle Jeffers. I mean, you don't want to be talking about Kyle Jeffers from a Singapore point of view, do you? You know it's not going too well if you're lamenting an injured hero.
Yeah, well, he is a great talent, and he's a great person as well. Otatua can't connect there. Might get a second bite at the cherry if Munro passes to him, and Munro just trying to slow it down. He's got time on the shot clock, about 15 seconds. Just trying to work Folk off. Oh! That looks like Otatua has got a thing about those kind of dunks with the JobStreet.com Singapore Slingers.
But it's wonderful to see the creativity from Munro. Here it is. Puts it up with the alley-oop play. Just a little bit of misfortune not to get the timing right from Moala, but you know, you can call it complacency, but also it's nice when you get that balance, and it is just confidence.
Well, fingertips, Andy. A bit more fingertips in there, and he could have connected with that dunk. But he's got to be careful. We've got 5 minutes to go. One more foul, and he is out of the game. That is Moala Tautua. And interesting that coach Neo Biang Sang is going to Sheng Yu Lin, a guy who has hardly played any minutes this season. He's a forward, number 12 for the Slingers. Looks like he just wants to shut down Sammy Manro Kabahag. And he gets it. Oh, he looks like an injury. This is not nice to see, Andy. It looks like an Achilles ankle injury. He is really struggling there. Ooh. Hope he didn't pull his or tear his Achilles. This looks rough, Andy.
Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. There's no telling how bad it could be, but he looks in some pain. He's holding that ankle, and he's having a great game. Puts in a 2, adding to the 3. He's in a zone, and you just hope this isn't the end of his afternoon.
Hopefully, because don't forget, after this game, we are at the halfway point of the season. We go... Okay, look, did you see his leg there on the replay? Oh, it slips. Yep, reverse. Thank you very much, guys in the studio. Oh, ouch, Andy, look at that.
He's rolled it.
He's rolled it.
Horrible. One of the most common injuries in basketball. It happens to the best of us, but it is painful.
Okay. He's struggling there, and this is what we don't like to see. I remember last season, Brian Williams had an injury similar to this, and that kept him out for quite a number of games. Brian Williams now playing with the San Miguel Beermen, but he was the heart and soul of the Dragons last season, and he had a similar injury that kept him out. Tyrus Wade pulling a hamstring, kept him out. And Patrick Kabahag last season, he was one of the main men on this Westports Malaysia Dragons team. Him and Chris Bakana would always fight it out. Okay, let's just go for a short commercial break. We'll be back right here on ABL Season 2013 on Fox Sports. If you're just joining us here on Fox Sports, it's the Westports Malaysia Dragons who lead 66-45 over the Jobstreet.com Singapore Slingers. And sad to say, Patrick Kabahag for the Westports Malaysia Dragons, he has just been stretchered off after rolling his ankle. Very, very early days yet to analyze what that injury is, Andy Whitelaw, but it looked like a rolled ankle, and let's hope that's the worst of it.
Yeah, that can keep you out for a few weeks. Disappointing because he was starting to have a fantastic afternoon. He has his ups and downs, does Patrick, but this was definitely an up, really weighing in with some crucial points for the Dragons. Stretch it off the field in the strong arms of his teammate, Muala Tautua. Good team spirit.
Very good team spirit. Andy Whitelaw, 4.5 minutes to go. What do you think? Slingers, comeback, possible?
Of course it's possible. We've seen this Dragons team collapse many times. I just wonder how much is in the tank for Jones Jennings. He has been the man, undoubtedly, for the visiting team, but too often he's had to do it by himself.
Is that a foul on Muala Tautua? And Muala Tautua will be fouled out. Yep, that's the end of the game for Big Mo. Sad to see that because he was really hurting. Now, Lynn, you've got some news for us. Over to you. What's going on?
Report on the foul update. So, Volkov is, Wei Long is already out. 5 fouls. And Tatua as well. I went over to Patrick. They don't know what's going on with his ankle just yet. The physio is right now releasing his shoe, and they're going to check on the ankle. But Patrick didn't look so good. He was told to keep on breathing, to concentrate on the pain. I'm going to go over, find out what's going on, and get back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Lynn. Patrick just having that ankle looked at by the medical professionals. Hopefully nothing too bad. But it is a 20-point ball game, and don't let this scoreline deceive you. A comeback can be on the cards, and it is a realistic ambition for this Singapore team. When they hit a rhythm, they can really go for it because they've got some decent shooters on this team, especially with Donald Dulé on the court. But turnover again, Andy Whitelaw.
Turnover again, Samuel Monroe into Justin Melton. How many times do we see that combination? But Edwards is there once again. He is having an incredible game today. Now, speaking about the shooters of the Slingers, obviously Wong Wei Long has been fouled out in his very first away day of the season.
Well, that's why you don't travel. Because you'll be in foul trouble. The Wong Wei Long, he doesn't travel much. Very much. Okay, we've got another update on Patrick Kabahag. Over to you, Lynn. What's the news?
Just check with the physio. It's a sprained ankle. Nothing too major, but definitely he won't be able to come back into the game for today. But overall, the physio said he has to look at it again later on. But don't worry, it's only a sprained ankle. Nothing bad. No broken bones or anything like that. Back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Lynn. And what Patrick will need to do is just do some RICE, which is rest, ice, compression, and elevation. God, I sound like a sports scientist. That's what they taught us when we played sport, yeah, Andy? All about rest and ice.
Yeah, he might be on crutches for a week or so, but maybe the timing is good with the mid-season break coming up, but he won't take much part in the Hoops Fest in Vietnam.
What a shame.
Unless he gets on that right.
That's a real shame.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is the first season. We're going to have Hoops Fest in the ASEAN Basketball League next weekend happening in Vietnam. And all teams will be down there. There'll be celebrities, dance shows, really, really good entertainment provided by Anthony Macri and the team from the ASEAN Basketball League.
Yeah, it is a shame. You'd fancy Patrick to get involved in the three-point competition. He is a sharp shooter for the Dragons, and he's done well today.
I'd like to see that. Chris Banchero, Justin Melton, Patrick Kabahag, Donald Dulé, Jai Reyes, guys like that. You know, they're good shooters. Well, Jai Reyes not having the best of seasons, but he was a good shooter last season.
Now the Slingers can break. Here's Dulé. They need to step up the tempo. Too often it's been too slow today, but Dulé's got some space, puts it up, and grabs the two.
This is one of Donald Dulé's better games this season. I mean, even though if the the Slingers lose. Dule will be happy with that. Kicks out with a 3.
Good defense from Singleton there. Just seems to have lost a bit of energy in the game, Singleton. You wanted more influence from him.
There you go, Andy Whitelaw.
Not good enough from Singleton. Monroe has it. It's another turnover for the Slingers. I thought this was a Dragon problem, but no, Monroe, and there you go.
Just drives to the basket with ease. Nobody's shutting him down or attempting to shut him down. So the bigs of the Slingers are looking a bit fatigued at the moment, Andy. They look a bit worse with the weary, to be honest.
Dule puts it up, very nice. Now he seems to be the only one who hasn't given up on this basketball game. If you're the coach, you're looking at the attitude of the players, you'd be disappointed, wouldn't you, Ben?
You would be disappointed, but here's a little bit of gossip for you, Andy. Donald Dule and Coach Ariel Vanguardia are very good friends, but he still holds a grudge against Coach Ariel because last season he wanted to play for the Dragons, and instead Coach Ariel selected Chris Pacana. Remember CP3?
Yes, I do. Oh, it's an intriguing bit of insider's knowledge.
Oh, well, you know, we love the gossip, us basketball commentators.
But it's interesting to get those updates from Nora on the sideline, because you just wonder how much that friction in the Slingers team has affected them today, because there seems to me to have been a lack of cohesion from round about the last 2 quarters.
Exactly, chemistry was an issue with the Singapore Slingers, but look at this, Andy. He's almost playing an all-Malaysian 5. Lo Shi Fai, Kwan Yung Jing, Quet Ten, Bansin Oi, and Gugas and Warren Batumalai. So this game, according to Coach Ariel Vanguardia, based on what he's put on the floor, is a game done and dusted.
Yeah, it's an interesting message to send. One, it'll give great confidence to the local players, but two, that word again, complacency. You just worry, is the game safe? A 20-point lead, yes. Not that long to go, but they are capable, the Singapore Slingers, and this man on the ball right here from the line, Jones Jennings, is highly capable of getting some big scores on the board.
Being a bit too analytical here, but look at that. Usually when a player misses a shot, they would go up to him and say, hey, keep going, but there was no talk. Slam? No. Looks like Mr. Singleton not happy with his performance. Don't forget, he led the Sendai 89ers to the playoffs last season in the Japanese League. He had a good game in the playoffs, even though they lost. There's a big YouTube video on him about Singleton, and this guy is like the Shaquille O'Neal of Japanese basketball. He's playing Bahrain, or was playing Bahrain.
The big boots to fill, Carl Jeffers, and he's going to need to show a heck of a lot more than he has today if he's really going to propel the Slingers up the table, because as currently as things stand, it looks like the Dragons could well overtake them. But Singleton needs to realize what a big figure he is and what a big role he has to play. He needs to be much more lively in the paint.
Don't forget, Carl Jeffers also brings the team together. I remember when they lost to the Beermen, 66 points to 55 in Singapore. Gabe Freeman was giving the Slingers a lot of lip. And Carl Jeffers just came up to Freeman and said, hey boy, pick on the man on your own size, pick on me. Yeah, come on. Fighting words, you know. So Carl Jeffers, he doesn't back down. He's a warrior. He sticks up for his teammates. Great facilitation and leadership skills. I had the...
Careful with your words there, he's a slinger.
Yeah, well, he's a slinger, but he's a
slinger warrior.
He's a slinger warrior, but he's a good basketball player. There's slinger warrior, there's the pun. But no, I had a chance to commentate with him along with Sean Farquhar last season during the playoffs. Definitely not only a first-class athlete, but a good guy as well. That's what you like to see in ABL.
Jennings getting a bit of stick from the crowd. Wow, that was loose. Nowhere near the basket, Ben, and you just get the sense that maybe the man who was the lion heart of this Slingers team for a long time in this basketball game has just started to doubt that there's any point in trying anymore. He seems to have given up that intensity because he's got a lot of minutes on the court today. He gave everything for so long.
Great block there by Singleton on Guga. But it's just about working the clock down, getting the offensive set right, getting a bit of experience. Shifai for the three. Basket. Low Shifai can hit him, can't he, Andy?
Yes, he can. One of the best local shooters in the league, you have to say. He's really been coming up with those numbers of late. Hasn't actually got too many minutes on court today, but he'll want to finish strong and send a message to Coach Ariel Vanguardia. Singleton getting bullied by Jing. It's a rare sight.
It is a rare sight, but that was a good call by the referee because it is a holding foul because Kwan Yung Jing did not or was not in a legal guarding position. He did not have two hands up and his feet was a bit off balance. So good call by the referees. That's sometimes a bit tough to call and a bit subjective to call, Andy. But in this case, I have to agree with the referee. He got it right. They're fighting for it in the paint. And Shifai, good spin by Shifai. Can he control it? No. So Jones-Jennings comes off and he looks absolutely toasted, Andy. Very, very tired. And the bigs are coming off. Singleton.
No Shifai from outside. It's rebounded well. Dulé trying to get some points on the board as we wind down. We're in the final minute, but now the Dragons can break. Barn underneath the basket. Tries the back pass to Kwek. Doesn't work out for him.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing, Andy? All ASEAN players, all 10 ASEAN players on the court. Now this is great for basketball development.
Yeah, no, it's great to see, isn't it, Ben? And it is just a sign that the game as a contest is over from the Singapore Slingers, but it's great to see them match up against each other because the Dragons certainly are looking confident. I mean, what a strong squad Ariel Vanguardia has got. He can call upon these players. Tautua came out, in came Jing, and represented himself very well.
Well said. But don't forget, we are at the halfway point of the season. After this, they play the Saigon Heat next week. Ban Sin Oi for the free throw. And 10 games to go. But don't forget, these guys can't get complacent because the other teams in the league, well, they have the liberty to do a bit of business and bring in some imports and exchange the imports. We saw that with the San Miguel Beermen last season and the Indonesia Warriors. And what a turning point that was for both teams.
Yeah, it can be significant, Ben. As we wind down the final 5 seconds, the Dragons, will they look to finish with a basket or just see this out? 1 second to go. Kwek.
And the Westports Malaysia Dragons, Andy, they are back to winning ways. They defeat their rivals, the JobStreet.com Singapore Slingers, 75 points to 56. Well, a bit of a blowout in the fourth quarter, but it was the turnovers, Andy Whitelaw, that cost the Slingers this loss. What say you?
Yeah, great running basketball from the Malaysian Dragons. Superb transition play. They took it up fast. They controlled the tempo. Not enough penetration in the paint than we thought we would see from the Slingers. A good individual performance from Jennings, who seemed to give it up as the game wore on. He didn't get enough help from his teammates. A little bit of disunity among the Singapore Slingers, but a fantastic home victory. A big W for the Westports Malaysia Dragons.
Well, look at this. Every time they get in the victory, they are in a huddle. So yep, the huddle, and this will be a really, really good turning point. Coach Ariel giving them a pep talk. I've got to tell you a funny story. What's he saying?
If I see 3 locals at Brussels tonight, we're off tomorrow. If tomorrow?
So, Justin Melton looking at the camera saying, hey, I'm on TV. Well, no, all jokes aside, these guys are wrapped. They're bonding. Muala Tauto will be slightly disappointed with the way he got into a bit of foul trouble today, because I know he wanted to really prove a point and really play a really good, well, hard 4 quarters of basketball, but he only got a chance to play 3.5. But excellent tactics. But let's just go for a very short commercial break. But when we come back, we'll analyze the game more right here on ABL Season 2013. Welcome back to Fox Sports. The Westports Malaysia Dragons has just defeated the Jobstreet.com Singapore Slingers 75 points to 56 live here at the MABA Stadium for ABL Season 2013 with me, Ben Ibrahim, Andy Whitelaw and Lenora Lau. And Andy, it was close for a while and then turnovers cost the Slingers this game.
Yeah, it's funny how turnovers cost the Slingers when they've cost the Dragons so many times during that 4-game losing streak, but they will be so happy that what they've worked on in training has finally come to fruition.
Okay, let's have a chat, or let's throw over to Lenora, who's having a chat with Coach Neo about this game. Over to you, Lynn.
Thank you very much, guys. Coach Neo, it was a really tough game, but let's talk about turnovers. I think that was the main problem for today's game, right? How are you going to work on that for next week's game?
Well, I mean, it's, exactly the turnover really kill us in this game. I mean, we have a good defense, but we got a ball back and we miss the ball again. So we need to really tidy up on that as a whole.
What about Singleton? I think he didn't really show a lot for today, did he?
Nah, it's just only 2 days. I think he's jet lagged, so I think he's still not get used to the weather, ASEAN weather. Well, I mean, I'm happy with him, but we have to keep on moving on and getting better.
Speaking of which, I need to ask you, during the game, I heard you screaming to your team, stick together. What was that all about? Is there something going on between the boys?
Yeah, that's the plan, because on a team talk, we did mention about, okay, don't overhelp on the shooter. So, but they never stick to the plan. Some of them really overhelp it and they kick out to the shooter and they knock down some trees. That's the killing part.
Well, Coach, I wish you all the best for next week's game. And thank you very much, guys. Back to you.
Well, there you go, Andy. Like Coach Neo said, if you try to overhelp your players, sometimes it could be seen as a bad thing. And as we see on the scoreboard, it was very much a negative thing for the Singapore Slingers today.
But you've got a lot of different personalities in the team, haven't you? And it doesn't always gel, and away from home it can be difficult. But let's have a little look at the highlights here. Samuel Monroe finished with another mammoth portion of the points, 29 individually. But the man who impressed me, Gavin Edwards, with 14 points.
Well, this guy impressed us as well. Justin Melton, you know, very aggressive. And Donald Dulé, he had one of his best games this season, knocking down deuces. And Monroe, like you said, Andy, with his spin move and his movement and his vision and how he brought other players into the game, trying to be a bit too ambitious there, overcooking the alley-oop. But Patrick Kabag, he went off injured, and he had one of his best games this season, scoring points and hitting 2s and 3s. And look, the Dragons were very much a different team in the second half.
Yeah, that was Patrick from way in three-point land. He hit 10 points today, and he'll be delighted with that. Let's hope he can get back to fitness as soon as possible. But some of the offensive plays from the Dragons, seeing that slam there from Samuel Monroe, were just great. Look at this reverse jam from Justin Melton. Great stuff.
So missed dunk there, and like it was very into Melton. And look at this man, Sammy for the tray from downtown, and Patrick goes there for and this is the turning point. We don't like to see this. He hit 10 points today, Andy, but that was the end of his game. And the Dragons really played they really capitalized of all those turnovers by their opposition today. So we're just going to go over to Lynn, who's talking to the winning coach. Over to you, Lynn.
Thank you very much. Coach Arya, today, congratulations, 75 to 56. And I have to say, Edwards had a really tough time today. He had 14 points and also 14 rebounds. What did you tell him on guarding Singleton and also Jennings?
Well, he's our big man. So with Mo in foul troubles, he was there to to help us out, and luckily we got this W, and we played good defense today.
Anything did you learn for today to improve on next week's game against the Singapore Slingers again?
Well, a lot. We got to keep Jennings and Singleton in the out of the paint. The last game also, it was Jeffers who killed us. So, and I think if Jeffers would have played today, it would have been a different story. It would have been a closer game.
Any update on Patrick? He went out with a sprained ankle.
We're gonna see him. Let the doctor see him. I hope he'll be available in the ABL Hoops Fest.
Thank you very much, Coach. All the best. And now we're going for a short break.
Welcome back to Fox Sports. You're with me, Ben Ibrahim and Andy Whitelaw. And yes, the Westports Malaysia Dragons get a victory over their rivals, the Singapore Slingers. Let's go over to Lenora Lau, our courtside reporter, who's talking to the man of the game, Gavin Edwards.
Player of the game, Gavin Edwards. You had 14 points and 14 rebounds. Tell me, what was it like to be defending against Jennings and also Singleton, two very big guys?
It was definitely tough because they're pretty good players and they're big guys. So we knew that it was going to be a physical game down low, and we've been preparing for it all week. So we just came out and kind of played our game.
What about next week? Anything you're going to change to improve your play for next week?
No, we've been playing pretty good lately. So I think if we just kind of keep playing our game and not really let other teams dictate what we're doing, I think we'll be all right.
Thank you very much, Edwards. Like you said, other teams are not going to dictate. 14 points, 14 rebounds. Back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Lenora. Nice interview and well wrapped. Like Gavin Edwards said, they're very, very happy now. The confidence has risen, Andy, with the Dragons camp. But for the Slingers, they've just got to go back to the basics on learning how to protect the ball and not turn it over.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because at the start of the game, we talked so much about how dangerous Singleton could be in the paint, as well as Jennings. Now, I like the way that they approached it, the Dragons, and just played their own game. They know how good on transitions they can be, and how effective they can be from shooting outside.
Well, let's look at the play of the day for this game, the Westports Malaysia Dragons and the JobStreet.com Singapore Slingers. Let's look at this, Andy. Justin Melton, he's like goes for the two-handed behind dunk, and that's how you throw it down.
Yeah, he loves it. Reverse stuff. Look at the athleticism, the technique, seizes the opportunity, and slams it with authority. You gotta love that one.
Well, size is not an obstacle in the ASEAN Basketball League Season 13. We have the upcoming fixtures coming up in the next week or so. Don't forget, next weekend is Hoops Fest. And yes, well, like I said, Andy, this win, well, it is the halfway point of the season. And the Dragons will take on the Singapore Slingers on the 23rd of March. And the Singapore Slingers will play the San Miguel Bierman, and that's going to be an interesting game. The Chang Thailand Slammers taking on the defending champions, the Indonesia Warriors, and the Slammers really need to keep the momentum going because they're struggling at the bottom there a bit.
Yeah, it would be a great win if they were to defeat the Warriors in their own backyard. What an upset that would be, but the Slammers are capable of it, and Chris Charles, as we've seen here before, can dominate.
Well, that's the fixtures, and don't forget, next weekend in Saigon is going to be the Hoops Fest. Tune in to www.youtube.com/ABL or watch us on Fox Sports. But for me, Ben Ibrahim, Andy Whitelaw, and Lenora Lau, it's time to say goodbye. We hope that you've enjoyed the game. Have a great weekend, folks. This is ABL Season 2013. We'll catch you next time.